What's going on, everybody? It's FREEDO here for another news roundup. A few interesting bits of information here to go over today, and the first of which is going to be a potential lifetime ban from competitive play. And this user suggested implementing a system that fighting games have, that if a player leaves or disconnects too often in a game, they basically get stamped with a red letter, marked forever as a leaver, to be put into a separate queue where they get queued with other leavers. This is the matchmaking equivalent of a dunce cap, and it's a way to segment the undesirable players. I mean, we could toss in toxic players with that lot as well, I suppose. And Jeff Kaplan responded that we'll definitely take this idea into consideration. Our philosophy has been that we would rather not have leavers playing the game at all, especially in competitive play. We keep increasing the penalty for leaving and will continue to do so. We're in the process of implementing a new policy which would take into account how many competitive seasons you have been banned from, and at a certain point, prevent you from playing competitive ever again. Oh no, what have you started? The user was talking about a separate queue that would isolate problem players off the play amongst themselves, but Jeff is going nuclear with this and saying that they're even going one step further and potentially would ban leavers from play altogether. This is an incredibly heavy-handed approach, but I gotta say, I don't think I'm against it. I don't support leaving games or purposely trolling, griefing, being toxic and abusive, and I specifically note being antagonistic. I don't include strategical input over comms to be toxic, some players do, but I don't really mind necessarily if we start getting these players in line. But I'm sure there's a mixed response to this because it is such a drastic measure to go down, and I have to imagine is going to rub players that love to rage quit the wrong way, but you do ruin the experience of your fellow teammates when you decide to leave the game. More to this point, another user said, that's a step in the right direction, hallelujah. Now on to reviewing and banning throwers. Now I assume he means throwing the game as in the griefing, refusing to play way, not in the hyperbolic use of the term, which it's sort of evolved to mean over time in the Overwatch community. When a player's misplaying so badly, you can say they're throwing, but that's more of an abuse of the term and kind of a rude thing to say, even though I have to admit I've come accustomed to using it as it's part of the Overwatch lexicon at this point. But point being, I don't think he's referring to players who just play badly, hopefully just those who get mad, pick Torb, and build a turret and spawn. Jeff responds, we had a lengthy meeting about this yesterday. We've been doing a lot of research on the problem for months now. We think we have some good solutions. We still need players to help us by reporting people. We do both manual and auto detection on our end, but player reports are the most immediate indicator that point us to the right direction. We also discussed the need for more feedback for the player doing the reporting, so it doesn't feel like your report is going out into the void. This is interesting. I wonder what some of these systems could be. I'm excited to see what they'll implement. One thing that CSGO does is that it has a review process for hacking that certain select users are allowed to opt into, and what it allows you to do is review a gameplay where there are select, possibly problematic segments of gameplay, and then asks you a questionnaire at the end if you thought that player was utilizing hacks to perform the actions that were shown on screen. And I've utilized this system myself, and I think it is pretty good for allowing the community to help aid in this approach to crack down on problematic players. I wonder what the next level step for Overwatch could be for leavers, throwers, toxic players, etc. Because if a player gets reported for throwing the game, like I said before, sometimes people think that means just using your ult at the wrong time, which may be the reason you lost, but the player's trying to play, right? They don't deserve to be banned for making a mistake. But at the same time, there's a pretty clear difference between having a player who's trying to play Torb on attack actually playing the game versus a player who's playing Torb on attack, building a turret in his spawn. This is an incredibly tricky situation. And of course, I'd like to bypass all of this, get your shot glasses out, with a team queue that I could build my own team so that I don't have to worry about coming into random interactions with random teammates who may just be a one trick of a builder hero, and that's all they're going to play no matter what the situation. And I say that because every player has their own threshold for what they like in the gaming experience. Where does this threshold lie? I don't know, which is why I'm always a bit hesitant when we start levying ban hammers for certain types of actions, and I'd like to know way more information about this system, but I am excited for it though. Leavers especially, that's an easy one. open and closed case. If you can't be bothered to stay in the game, then stop queuing into them and we'll make that decision for you so you don't ruin it for everybody else. The other situations are a bit more complex. On to cosmetics news. The Overwatch art book is coming out, and Kotaku reported on some of the content and sneak peek images that we are privy to. On the forums, one user was particularly excited about a early Lucio concept skin that he begs to have be put into the game, and on the image itself, you could see that Lucio looks similar to the Lucio of today. There's a small text blurb in the upper left that I'll read for you that you probably won't be able to read because it is very pixelated, but it says, character concepts, an early concept of Lucio featured turntables on his hips and equalizer pants that would light up as he played music. The developers toned down parts of his outfit in later versions because they felt the visuals would be too distracting during gameplay. I can kind of see that if Lucio's bringing his own light show. Overwatch doesn't have flashbangs in the game, but Lucio's mini concerts might have done the same thing if they did institute this. Also on the image, you can see he has an armband that says base on it, a badass skull bandana wrapped around his head, and a button attached to his armband, which I suppose would drop the bass? Question mark? Maybe that's his MIDI key to change songs? I don't know. I will say this skin is a bit over the top, and I think his current skin set is more fitting to his character, but Jeff Kaplan says in response, that was Arnold's early concept for Lucio. We're glad you like it. Maybe we'll consider making it a skin someday. The art book is really amazing. Our art team and our publishing team have poured so much love into it. We hope you enjoy it when it comes out. The Overwatch art book, according to Amazon, releases on October 24th. 2017, and is available for pre-order now. I think I'll get one. I'm a big enough Overwatch fanboy. And the last bit of news, 2 bits of information from the PTR, first of which is a sightline on the new map Horizon has been removed. It once was the case that you could scope up with Widowmaker and basically see all the way down to one of the lanes out of the attacker's spawn. Now there's an object obfuscating this line of sight, so you no longer can do so. Many of you haven't even played the new map yet, but it may have been annoying getting sniped as you take 2 feet out of spawn. However, I think there is plenty of other already existent sight lines that do similar things, but anyway, the developing team felt this one needed to be changed. And one more change to the Horizon Lunar Colony map, these 2 incredibly close health packs will be moved. Dave Adams, the level designer, said they just did a pass on all health packs, should be in next patch. And also, there was a really odd glitch that I assume is going to be fixed very soon, but what it did was that allowed some projectiles, those that can naturally go through barriers, so Fire Strike and Symmetra's orbs, under certain circumstances when the enemy barrier was just right on penetrating a door that normally would get destroyed when a new phase of the map is opened. If that barrier was sitting in the right spot, the enemy can shoot a Fire Strike or Symmetra Ball through that section of the barrier and pass through space and time through the universe to go through the wall and hit you on the other side. Now this sounds like it could be a big problem, but one, I assume it's going to get fixed quite soon, and also it's pretty difficult to replicate this actually. You could do this through a Rhine Shield or a Winston Bubble, but the barrier has to be sitting in such a precise type of location on a door that's likely going to get destroyed fairly soon anyway. As if you're on this section of the map, it's probably the case that the payload already reached that part, and you're going to be in transition, on top of the fact that you're shooting a projectile blindly through a barrier, through a wall, and the chances of it hitting something is so incredibly small. Whatever, this is an interesting little thing. It's probably going to get fixed quite soon, but I thought I'd let you know about it. Last bit of news today is on the Mystery Heroes game mode. If you don't know, it's a big mode in the arcade where you get a random hero each spawn. It creates quite an interesting Overwatch experience, unlike any other. But this user created a big thread giving a few critiques for the mode that he loves. It goes on to say, personally, my favorite game mode. I really like forcing myself to play heroes I'm uncomfortable with, but there are some headaches involved in Mystery Heroes though, as many of you know. Some things that I wish for first, we don't need the hero select countdown at the beginning. It's just a silly waste of time because of course you select your hero and then as you spawn in, it randomly selects it for you anyway. Second, hero stacking is very annoying when you can't choose counters, so perhaps only one of each hero per team. Because there's no limit on heroes, you can randomly be assigned multiples of the same hero, which potentially could be horrible for your team or horrible for the enemy team. I think that's half the fun, but moving on. Third, maybe bring a rudimentary team comp into the picture with some balancing algorithms I'm not smart enough to implement. I'm guessing he means like vague rules of the algorithm to form the team comp into a 2-2-2 or something similar to that. And lastly, he points out that like all arcade modes, the playtime is not tracked in your statistics. and a lot of players like to have that stuff add up to be able to look at it in their career profile. Jeff Kaplan responds by saying, we have a number of mystery heroes fixes on our to-do list. We're very eager to get to them, but it just hasn't bubbled to the top of our priority list yet. We definitely want to get rid of suiciding to force a hero switch. We also want to remove the assemble heroes wait time, as there's no reason to have it in the mode. We have some other improvements in mind as well. I am curious how the community as a whole feel about some of the ideas you bring up. I know that it frustrates me when the other team ends up with 5 divas. I also get frustrated when the enemy team has a balanced team comp and my team comp is less balanced. But perhaps that's part of the charm of the mode. How do you guys feel about a purely random system, such as it works now, versus a mostly random system where we try to limit stacking and nudge the team comps towards something more reasonable? I can see arguments for both ways being compelling to different people. And I agree, Jeff. I see that logic entirely. I'm sure some players would want to play balanced Overwatch team comp, but with the roles randomized. But of course, if you have pure randomness, you get to see the results of incredibly wonky team comps that you don't really get to see much in Overwatch. So personally, I kind of lean against trying to make it more sensible. If anything, I might advocate that there be a role practice mode, if that makes sense, where you queue in on a role and then you implement that randomizer but sensible team comp algorithm in that mode, which will let you practice your tanks or your healers or your DPS picks in an environment where everyone else is sort of getting randomized heroes too, but it's somewhat sensible. I don't know, guys. There's no perfect answer to a chaotic game mode on the arcade, but that's my thoughts at least. What do you guys think? Mystery Heroes is my wife's favorite mode, and I know the reason she likes to play it is because it forces everyone to be in a very hectic environment. You have moments where your team can do really well, or even you in particular can do very well, and the enemy team's at a big disadvantage, and vice versa. For players that are less competitive, I think this is incredibly compelling because their approach to the game isn't in this hardcore trying to figure out every counter in the game in mind. They're just trying to have fun with the Overwatch characters in a game space. Is that so much to ask? So I think it's probably best to let the arcade mode have the chaos. Let us know what you think in the comment section down below. Comment on any of the news stories that we covered today because we enjoy reading through your comments. And that's it for today's news roundup video. I hope you guys did enjoy. If you did, please hit the like button. It really does help us out and lets us know that you're enjoying the content. If you haven't already, please hit subscribe because we upload each and every day. So you're going to want to hit the bell icon so that you get notified when our videos go live. Linked in the description to check out our Twitter and our Discord server where you can find teammates to pair up with. That's been it for me. I've been FREEDO for Your Overwatch. I'll see you guys next time.